travel and rewire your brain.
I've often wondered why children have such an easy time learning a new language. Well, as it turns out, for the longest time, scientists believed that this was because our brains become less neuroplastic as we age. But as it turns out, that's completely wrong. However, what does happen as we age is that our brain removes unused neural pathways to reinforce existing ones. While when we're children, our brains are wired very broadly, which also makes it really hard for children to do things really well. Now, you might wonder, what does this have to do with travel? Well, when we're traveling, we're having lots of new experiences in a relatively very short amount of time. Everything is new, just like when we're kids, right? Everything is fresh and exciting. There's a concept in Zen Buddhism called beginner's mind, or shoshin. But why would you want to see things as a beginner? Well, for one, a beginner doesn't have a defined structure of doing things. They're not afraid to fail, and they're not afraid to experiment. And I think that failure is such a necessary part of learning that by trying something new and failing, we can learn much more than just repeating the same thing we've been trying over and over again. But obviously, that's not all. Travel is also really exciting as it exposes us to new people, new environments, new cultures, and new ideas. All of these things combined can have a really powerful effect on the structure of our brain. Essentially, traveling supercharges our brain because it allows our brain to form new neural pathways and renew existing ones, which in turn will enable us to come up with new ideas that otherwise we would have never come up with. And that's something that remains even after we return home. I think perhaps even more important than the exact location of where you go is the people you meet along the way. And of course, different people travel to different destinations. You're gonna meet different people in a hostel somewhere in Southeast Asia than in some kind of all-inclusive resort. But I feel like wherever we go, when we're traveling, it feels like everyone is much more open-minded. And I think that even if you would meet those same people back home, they wouldn't be as open-minded as when they're traveling because their mind is processing so many new things and they're just more willing to be adventurous and try new things. It's like our minds are tuned a little bit different when we get taken out of our comfortable environment. And of course, when we're traveling, we're all in the same boat. So that's a really great way to bond with each other as well, right? It's really easy to make a connection with other people. And although there's obviously no age limit to traveling and learning from traveling and having a great time and great experiences, I think it's extra valuable to travel and have these kinds of experiences when we're still young and when we're still figuring out what we want to do and what kind of person we are. Travel when you're young. As a kid, I was very fortunate that my parents were spending so much of their hard-earned money on traveling because they had a passion and they wanted to see as much of the world as possible. So I went to many different places and I learned so much as a young child from traveling. And not just from going to different places and experiencing different cultures, but also from playing with kids that I didn't speak the same language as. And that was something that taught me a lot because I figured out that you don't need to speak the same language to have a great time with other people. And that's coming from someone who was super shy as a kid. And at the time, my English was limited to everything that I learned from Pokemon on my Game Boy Advance. So you definitely don't need to speak many different languages to be able to have a great time when traveling. But I think at any age, meeting new people, having shared experience with them and bonding over those experiences is so cool. And it's something that I think can really help us become more open-minded and well-rounded people in general. And it's just much easier to do that in a hostel common room than when you're locked up in your hotel room. And I think when we're young and we're still figuring things out for ourselves, it can be much more valuable to travel for a week or for a month or a year than that same amount of time in school would be, because traveling can teach us so much about other people, other cultures, and ourselves that a classroom would never be able to teach us. Just broadening our horizon is such a great investment in oneself, and something that most of us are not able to do once we start working a normal job. Traveling slow. When I travel, I really love taking my time and just going slow. I think it's much nicer to really submerge yourself in a new city and eat what the locals eat, drink what the locals drink, go where they go. There's just something really magical about living in a different place for a while. With all of that being said, I'd love to hear from you. Do you travel differently? Would you like to know a bit more about my single backpack that I take on every trip? Did you find the video interesting? Let me know in the comments below. I really do read all of them. For now though, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.